Black markets kids ran in their schools. Follower submission. When this kid was in middle school, him and another kid were into martial arts. They wanted to start a business. There were other kids that they knew that did kickboxing. So this was their idea. They started a fighting ring in the bathroom every day after recess. He said that their fighting ring had similar rules to UFC. So like I said, every day after recess in the bathroom, they had fighting matches. And people could come and watch. They charged people $15 to watch a 10-minute fight. Once they collected the money of everyone that wanted to watch a fight that day, they would close and lock the bathroom doors, so the kids that didn't pay couldn't get in. Luckily, this kid said that nobody was seriously injured during these bathroom fights, just some occasional bruises and soreness. Well, one day, somebody snitched, and him and 3 other people got suspended. They made bank, and after the fighters got their cut, this kid walked away with $400. Black markets kids ran in their schools. This kid's high school had an internet filter, meaning there were tons of websites you couldn't access. Well, his friend had an idea to get around this. I'm not sure all the details, but he set up a free BSD server in his basement and put together a bunch of flash drives with Firefox on the flash drive. And the thing with this is that Firefox could run directly in the flash drive without having to install it to the computer. People were able to go to any website they want. And these flash drives were flying off the shelves. He charged $25 per flash drive. Kids would go to the library, set it up, browse whatever they wanted on the internet. People would see, ask how they're doing this, and that's how the word spread. Black markets kids ran in their schools, a follower submission. This kid's sharing a story of a business somebody ran in his 6th grade class, and he's sharing it because he is one of the people this kid scammed. In 6th grade, this kid would sell Nintendo games during lunch. He would lay out the games, and then once somebody gave him the money, he would give them the game. Well, this was a complete scam, because what this kid was selling was just the game cases. There were never any games inside them. I can't imagine this business lasted too long, but he did make some decent money. The person that shared this story with me said that one day during lunch, this kid sold him a copy of Super Mario Galaxy 2 for $30. But like I said, it was just the case. Craziest things found in fast food. In 2005, a California woman was eating at Wendy's, and she was having chili, when suddenly she bit down on something. And when she looked at it, it was a severed human finger. And because of that, Wendy's suffered around $21 million in lost business. But people weren't buying it. How did that finger get in there? Well, after some investigating, this is what actually happened. This lady's husband got the severed finger from one of his co-workers, who lost it in a work accident. He gave the finger to his wife. She cooked it, brought it to Wendy's, and then put it in her chili. Apparently, she was trying to get some lawsuit money. Well, once people found out what actually happened, she was sentenced to 9 years in prison. But she was released after 4 years on good behavior. She is not allowed inside of a Wendy's ever again. Black markets kids ran in their schools. This is a quick one, but it makes me very mad. When this kid was in 6th grade, there was a teacher that started selling candy to students in between classes. How nice, right? Well, one kid thought that the teacher's prices for candy were way too high, so he had an idea. He went out and bought the same type of candy the teacher was selling. He bagged it up and brought it to school, where he sold it to students for way less than the teacher was charging for her candy. And as you guessed it, business was frickin' booming, and people loved him for it. Eventually, the candy-selling teacher got mad. She went to the school principal, and they put an end to all candy sales. What a salty woman. So she can sell, but he can't? Shame. Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. When this kid was in junior high, they had circle-shaped hallways where all the lockers were. Well, the school administration was pretty whack, and they decided that students would only be allowed to walk clockwise around the hallway. Well, this kid's homeroom class was right next to his locker. But the problem was, his class was right here, and his locker was about 6 feet away counterclockwise. He never thought it was a big deal, so every day after homeroom, he would walk counterclockwise to his locker to get his stuff for his next class. Well, the teachers and school staff caught on, and he was eventually suspended for disrespecting the one-way rule too many times. What? Black markets kids ran in their schools. In elementary school, there was this girl named Danielle that convinced a bunch of kids that she could forever change the taste of saliva in their mouths. She said she could make their saliva taste like watermelon, cotton candy, bubble gum, forever. And naturally, everybody thought that was awesome. So what she would do is she would make these people wait a couple days so they could really decide on what flavor they want their saliva to taste like. Anyways, after a couple days, these kids would come back to her with the flavor they decided on. And that's when she would charge them $1. They would give her the money, and she would make them chew on things like paper clips, erasers, pencil tips, and cardboard. And all these kids would do it. Well, obviously, nobody's saliva changed flavors. She was eventually found out and was forced to stop for obvious reasons. But she made around $25 doing this. That's insane. Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. One day, this one kid, let's call him Ben, he brought his holographic Charizard Pokemon card to class to show it off and to brag a little. Well, when he wasn't looking, another kid in his class, let's call him Kyle, stole the card from Ben and then raised his hand and told the teacher that he caught Ben stealing the card out of his backpack. Ben's like, dude, what the heck, that's my card. But the teacher didn't believe Ben. The teacher said, that can't be your card because your family is too poor to buy you toys. That's just not right. Craziest ways people made a lot of money. In 2001, a man named Byron Reese secured a North Pole address in Alaska. He then launched a website called santamail.org. This website allowed parents to get Christmas cards from Santa mailed to their children. Business was frickin' booming. And in 4 years, their sales reached over $1 million. Craziest ways people got rich. Dong Nguyen is an app developer, and he had a couple games on the App Store. Well, in May of 2013, he uploaded a new game to the App Store, Flappy Bird. I'm sure you've all played this game before. He uploaded Flappy Bird to the App Store, and for a few months, it didn't get a lot of attention at all. Till one day, Dong Nguyen saw a tweet, and all the tweet said was, Flappy Bird. And just like that, word of the game spread. It started getting more and more downloads, and more people were leaving reviews and tweeting stuff about how hard and addicting the game is. By the end of December that year, it was number 80 on the App Store. And then in January, it was number 1. He was making $50,000 a day from the ads that popped up in the game. But then he started getting incredibly depressed. He was constantly getting calls for interviews. People were tweeting at him because the game was too hard. Some people even mailed him death threats. Eventually, he got to his breaking point, and he took the game off the App Store. He must have made bank because $50,000 a day is insane. Worst houses of all time. Why does this one have so many windows? Whoever designed this went a little too far because that's definitely unnecessary. I don't even know what this house is supposed to be, but I bet the owner is definitely a psychopath. This bathtub in the kitchen with chairs around it seems a little sus. This garage that was built to look like a castle. Honestly, this one's pretty sick. This super tiny bedroom. They must have given this room to their least favorite child. It's basically a prison cell. Before we get to the last one, I found an app that lets you go live even if you have 0 followers. Get it right here if you want to go live too. And this kitchen looks like something that would be in a dollhouse. This is too much. The worst things found in homes. This bathroom. How do you even get to it? It's so small. Who put that there? Looks like a nice TV built into the wall. But then if you go outside, you see this. Kinda smart, not gonna lie. They put this front door right above this grate. If you ever dropped your keys, you'd be screwed. This design on the bathroom floor really freaks me out. Imagine going in there at 3 in the morning to pee. I couldn't do it. Before we get to the last one, I found an app that lets you go live even if you have 0 followers. Get it right here if you want to go live too. This staircase. Now, how is anyone gonna get up the stairs? Those are just too small. Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. When he was in 5th grade, his teacher was making his entire class write Mother's Day cards. Well, he's been at this school for 6 years, and everyone knows that his mom walked out on him and his dad years ago. Well, I guess the teacher forgot, because when he refused to write a Mother's Day card, she got incredibly mad, and this kid was suspended. Secret rooms with scary backstories. A man bought a new house. He discovered a hidden door on the floor of his pantry. He went down there and found this room with a desk, a working light, and an ashtray. Here's a similar story. A group of college students lived in a house on campus. They were convinced the house was haunted because cabinet doors were left open and they were hearing strange noises at night. And behind a secret door in the basement, they found this room. There was a double bed, student textbooks, and photographs, all belonging to somebody named Jeremy. They changed the locks in the house and left Jeremy a note outside saying he's no longer able to live there. Now, this last one's very creepy, but before I show you it, I found this app that shows you everybody that goes and lurks on your social media profiles. There's even a section that tells you who they think your crush is. If you want to find out who your crush is, go right here. And this one. One day, they found this room, and it looked like somebody had been living in there. There was bed sheets, blankets, freshly opened snacks, and every single item the family had go missing. Black markets kids ran in their schools. Another follower submission. When she was in 7th grade, her dad was the janitor of the middle school. And the school's policy was if he had to clean up a really bad mess in the bathroom, he would get paid double for that day. Well, his daughter had a brilliant idea. You see, her grandpa had some digestive issues. So one day she went to her grandparents' house and stole tons of boxes of chocolate laxatives. She would then take these chocolates to school and sell them to kids before lunch every day for 50 cents a chocolate bar. She was selling out every single day, and everyone just thought that they were regular chocolate bars. Let's just say after she started this business, her dad's paychecks got a whole lot bigger. Weirdest products ever sold. This is a nose stylus, and it was invented to make multitasking more effective. These are flip-flop metal detectors. It makes a loud noise when you're walking over something made of metal. Honestly, that's pretty sick. This one is a finger fork. And honestly, it's pretty self-explanatory. Finger, fork, finger fork. This one's weird. It's a hamster-powered paper shredder. You put the paper in the top, a hamster runs on the wheel, and it shreds the paper the hamster will then use as bedding. This last one's super weird but kinda cool. Really quick, I found an app that lets you go live even if you have 0 followers. Tons of people have gotten famous from this app. Go right here if you want to get it. This is a cutting board bread feeder. You can see there are holes in the cutting board, so when you're cutting bread or other snacks, the crumbs fall down and into this tube, which then leads to the bird's food dish. I actually kind of like this one. Markets kids ran in their schools. Followers sent me this story about her brother. When he was in 7th grade, him and his friends were working a garage sale for one of the friends' grandpas. When the day was done, the grandpa said they can take anything they wanted from the garage sale to keep. Well, this dude picked a George Foreman grill. He decided he was going to start taking it to school. He would then use that grill every day to toast his sandwiches at lunch. And then he started doing it for his friends. And after a few weeks, everybody wanted their sandwiches toasted. So he had an idea. He would charge people $1 to toast their normal sandwich. So kids would come to lunch with their ordinary cold sandwich, give him $1, and he would toast it. Business was booming. Until one day his dad got a call from the school office saying he needs to come in. When he got there, he saw his son sitting in a chair with the grill on his lap. The principal said he could not be doing this anymore and the George Foreman grill had to stay at home. Well, his dad challenged them. He asked them, where in the handbook does it say students can't grill sandwiches at lunch using a George Foreman grill? And they couldn't find it. So he was allowed to keep the grill at school. He made about $1,000. Until the next year, in the handbook, it said students can't toast sandwiches in a George Foreman grill. This kid's a legend. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. When he was a freshman in high school, he noticed you could buy 1 6-pack of Kool-Aid Bursts for just $1 at Walmart. So he had an idea. He was going to buy a bunch of 6-packs, freeze them overnight, and bring them to school. He would then sell them for $1 a bottle. So he would buy 1 6-pack for $1, sell all 6, and make $5 profit. Business was booming. Before long, he was bringing in 36 6-packs of Kool-Aid Bursts every day. And he was selling out. During his freshman year, he made about $5,000. Until one day during lunch, he was doing his business. It was busy. Everyone was thirsty and they wanted Kool-Aid. Well, he ran out and went back to the football locker room to pick up more. Somebody followed him, and they found out exactly what he was doing. When they got back to the lunchroom, he was busted. They had all of his inventory and money stacked on a table like it was a scene from Narcos. He was then escorted by school staff to the principal's office. As he was walking out, however, students booed and screamed and caused a riot because they wanted their freaking Kool-Aid, and he didn't do anything wrong. He was then suspended. To this day, people call him Juice. He is now an entrepreneur and owns a few small businesses. Black markets kids ran in their schools. At this kid's school, there was a girl that would carry around a box of stationery every day. Her business was that she would write forged letters from parents. She had all different papers, pens, and pencils of every kind. And if kids wanted to leave school early, they would go to her, and she would write a note from their parents. Well, these notes were incredibly convincing. She used different styles of handwriting, different styles of punctuation. She could even write notes in different languages. She made absolute bank. The teachers never caught on, but this kid grew up incredibly educated, and today she's incredibly successful. Black markets kids ran in their schools, a follower submission. When this kid was a junior in high school, finals were coming up, and he got pretty solid grades. Well, one day, 2 of his friends asked if they could borrow his notes and study guides for the hardest classes, and he gave it to them, and they were incredibly helpful. Well, word spread about how helpful they were, and by the time finals came around again, everybody was wanting his notes and study guides. So him and 2 other friends of his who were also very smart decided to pool all their notes and study guides together. They scanned them into a Google Drive folder and would sell access to them based on how hard the class was. Prices were $5 for basic classes, $7 for honors classes, and $10 for AP classes. Business was booming. He checked his old spreadsheet for me, and in total they made $627. So they each walked away with $209. His math teacher heard about it after the school year was over, and he said, "Pretty sweet gig with the study guides, huh?" Then they agreed that it never happened. Dumbest things people got in trouble for at school. One day when he was in in preschool it was nap time, and he was laying awake in his cot playing with his sleeping bag because he had trouble falling asleep. But he wasn't disrupting anybody. Well, his teacher came over to him, crouched down, and whisper yelled at him, telling him that he needed to go to sleep. When he said he couldn't, she dug her nails under his chin and told him that if he didn't fall asleep, he would have to go to the principal's office. He got in trouble for not being able to fall asleep. That ain't right. Weird things kids did in school. One day in class, this teacher noticed a stuffed cat sitting right next to a student's desk. Not a fluffy stuffed animal cat. He said it looked like a taxidermy cat. He thought there's no way, so he asked his student about it. His student said that his cat had died earlier that week. But it's okay, because now he could always have Buttercup close. That's creepy. Terrible things people did as kids. When this guy was in middle school, he had an obsession with fire. Well, one day he was home alone, so he grabbed some cardboard boxes and trash and went outside to the family's fire pit. Keep in mind, it was a pretty deep fire pit. He threw all the stuff in there, grabbed lighter fluid from his dad's grill, doused the garbage, and lit it on fire. And up the flames went. Completely satisfied, he sat back and watched the fire blaze, until suddenly, a strange-looking fireball jumped out of the fire pit and started running towards the woods. Turns out there was a raccoon in the fire pit, and when it caught on fire, it tried to make the grand escape. Well, when it got to the woods, it ended up burning a few trees down. But sadly, the raccoon didn't make it. Black markets kids ran in their schools. The swim team at this girl's high school was having a fundraiser. They were selling lollipops to raise money for new equipment, gear, and to fix stuff around the pool. Well, this girl had an idea. She figured out where you could buy the same lollipops online, and she discovered that they were super cheap. So that's what she did. She ordered a bunch of boxes of them, took them to school, and sold her lollipops for just a little less than the swim team was selling theirs. Business was absolutely booming. Everyone was buying her lollipops, and nobody was buying the swim team's. She made absolute bank. And unfortunately, the swim team barely sold any, so they couldn't get any of the new equipment or gear they wanted to. But that's business, baby.
This is a life hack that you need to know about. Okay, so I used my friend's HBO Max account. I was trying to watch the Euphoria finale, and then I realized he changed his password, which is kind of annoying, but then I came across this. Listen up. Type downloader.world in your browser. It'll bring you right here. Download the app, and when you open it up, if the movies and TV shows don't show up right away, type 777 in the search bar. And bingo, tons of movies and TV shows you can watch immediately. There's Euphoria. Do what you will with this information, but it was a lifesaver for me.
Worst things people did as kids. One day after middle school, he had gotten home, and there was a couple hours before his parents came home, so he wanted to make himself a snack and watch TV. He boiled some water, threw some hot dogs in there, and sat on the couch. That's when he got a phone call from his friend. His friend asked him if he wanted to come over for a little bit. He said sure, so he left. But he forgot about the hot dogs on the stove. When he got back home, he realized he forgot about the hot dogs, so he turned the stove off. But then he noticed that his mom's beloved parakeet she had for years, which was in the kitchen, was lying dead. Turns out the Teflon from the pan releases a poisonous gas that's lethal to birds. He killed his mom's bird. When his mom came home, she saw the dead bird, immediately started sobbing and went up to her room. She didn't come out for 3 days. Black markets kids ran in their schools. The cafeteria at this kid's school was absolutely terrible, and he thought that his peers deserved better. So one day he went home, told his mom what he was thinking, and she had an idea. She started making tons of Cuban sandwiches every day. She would give them to her son, he would take them to school and sell them during lunch. And apparently these sandwiches were amazing. Kids would stop buying cafeteria food. Instead, they would line up in front of his lunch table and buy the Cuban sandwiches. He became a hero around the school, and he made a couple $100. He split everything he earned with his mom. Weird things kids did in school. This one teacher shared her story. She teaches 4th grade, and one day she was having all of her students clean out their desks. While the kids were cleaning, she noticed one of them having a tough time and acting kind of suspicious. So she went over there, and it turns out this kid had been collecting snails from outside, putting them in his desk, and trying to breed them. I guess he'd been doing this for a few weeks. The snails ate through all of his workbooks, papers, and were trying to escape to other kids' desks. She said it was a nightmare. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. Every day this kid wakes up at 5:30 in the morning and goes to Dunkin' Donuts, where he buys 2 or 3 dozen donuts every morning. He brings these donuts to school, and during lunch, when him and his friends are sitting at their table, masses of people will come running to him, asking for a donut. And he sells kids donuts. $5 for one, which is absurd. But for whatever reason, these kids are spending $5 a donut every single day. And he always sells out. No one's ever snitched on him, and this business is still running. He's made a couple $100. People's personal unsolved mysteries. In college, this guy woke up at 3 a.m. with a feeling that he was being watched. Well, he was. A man with a backpack was standing right by his bed, staring at him. He thought it was his friend, so he said his friend's name. But the mysterious man didn't answer. He then suddenly grabbed a $10 bill that was sitting on the nightstand. He looked at it and ran out the door. He had put that $10 there right before he went to bed. But what concerns him is that in order for this guy to get to his room, he had to walk past 5 other rooms and a kitchen lobby area where the people on the floor kept their laptops. But he only took the $10 bill. He said this happened over 7 years ago and it still haunts him to this day. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. This kid's got a pretty strong stomach. So in middle school, he had a business idea. Every day at lunch, he would have a milk from the cafeteria in front of him. And people could add anything they want to the milk and he would drink it. It was $1 to add a basic item to the milk, like raisins. But the crazier the stuff got, the more expensive it got. So for example, if someone wanted to put Vegemite in the milk, it would cost $5. This kid was drinking nasty milk combinations every single day. And business was booming. Kids loved watching him drink this stuff. He did this a couple times a week throughout the year. And in total, he made $350. Nice. People's personal unsolved mysteries. One morning at 4:40 a.m., this man received a call from a blocked phone number. And when he answered, all he heard was the person on the other end repeating, "Car won't start, car won't start," over and over again. Well, he hung up, and since he works at 5:30 in the morning, he decided to stay awake. He didn't think much of it until he was leaving for work, got in his truck, and you guessed it, the car wouldn't start. It could have been a prank, or somebody he knew messing with him. But he says it still gives him a weird feeling. To this day, nobody knows who made that call. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. At this one kid's school, there was a kid that was pretty good at cooking. So he would cook a bunch of food at home, bring it to school, and sell it to kids in the morning. It was like breakfast sandwiches, delicious biscuits, stuff like that. And he was making bank. Eventually, he was making so much money and the demand for his food was so high, he had to hire people to work for him. The people he hired were also pretty good at cooking. So they would cook stuff at their house and they would bring it to school as well to sell. And business was still booming. However, something happened that tore this business down. Apparently, one of the kids they hired lost his mind, and he decided to make a bunch of waffles with laxatives in them. The next day, he brought those waffles into school and gave them away for free. Well, later that day, people began to have severe diarrhea throughout the school. The teachers caught on, and they learned all about this business. All the kids who were selling the food got suspended, but the kid that put the laxatives in the waffles was expelled, and no one ever heard from him again. Crazy things kids did in school. A follower submission. So this guy is still doing this. At his school, the cafeteria sells a bunch of raisin boxes for some reason, and none of the students like raisins or ever buy them. So this kid and his friends every day get in the lunch line and steal raisin boxes from the cafeteria. They stuff them in their lunch boxes, backpacks, pockets, and they smuggle them out of the lunchroom. Then they go to his locker, which he never uses, and they stack the stolen raisin boxes in that locker. Like I said, they do this every day, so this tower has been growing and growing, and it's become kind of a famous landmark around the school. People are always gathering around it, taking pictures with it, like it's frickin' Mount Rushmore. He actually sent me an image of what the Raisin Tower looks like today. That's actually crazy. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. This guy is still running his business. What he does is he goes to the dollar store, buys a bunch of candy and snacks for super cheap. He then has a Google Doc where he uploads all of his inventory on there with the prices. He actually sent me a few screenshots. Here's his business rules. You can pause to read the rest. Business was booming for this guy. This picture's kind of blurry, but that's his menu. And here is the page where people place their orders. He's running an entire online candy shop. Kids place an order, they either pay online or bring exact cash to school, and they make the trade in the bathroom or a hallway somewhere. And so far, he's made around $300. Nice. Craziest things found in fast food. In 2008, a man from New York went to Subway and ordered himself a footlong. As he was biting into the sandwich, he felt something thin, hard, and sharp between his teeth. When he got a closer look, he saw a fairly large serrated knife that had been baked into the bread. He was absolutely pissed. He could have really messed up his mouth. He let the store know and hired a lawyer, and he accepted a settlement of $20,000. Craziest things found in fast food. In 2004, a woman was shopping at a Costco in California. She was getting hungry, so she went to the food court and ordered a hot dog. She put the condiments on, sat down, and was ready to dive in. Well, she took one bite, and then she felt something hard between her teeth. When she spit it out, she noticed it was a live 9mm bullet that was inside the hot dog. She freaked out, let Costco know, and then she went home. Later that night, she started having severe stomach pain. She was taken to the hospital, and the doctors discovered that she had swallowed another 9mm bullet. That's absolutely insane. How were there 2 bullets in that hot dog? Oh, heck no. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. At this kid's school, there was a really mean bully that told everybody in his class that he would spread terrible rumors about them. And the only way he wouldn't do that is if they would pay him. So if kids didn't want this guy to spread awful rumors about them, they would have to pay him $5. And in return, the bully wouldn't target them. It's a pretty crazy business, and it lasted a few months, and the bully made about $200 before the school found out and he got in trouble. Black markets kids ran in their schools. A follower submission. When this kid was in middle school, he went to a very expensive private school, and there was a program on all the school computers that allowed the teachers to see everything the students were doing on them, and they had the ability to close tabs and block computer games. Well, this kid was pretty good with computers, so he found a way to set up a VPN and get that program removed, which allowed him to be on the computer without the teachers seeing what he was doing. People found out about his system and they started asking him how he was doing it. And that's when he started his business. He started doing this for other kids for $50. It's kind of expensive, but like I said, it was a very rich private school. And you guessed it, business was booming. He was making hundreds and hundreds of dollars. He did this for 5 months. But one kid wanted him to do it for free. He said no, and then the kid snitched to the principal, and our dude got a 2-week suspension. Dumbest school projects of all time. This one person's elementary school science project was, what temperature do ladybugs prefer? And the teacher required the students to take 4 mason jars, all of them full of ladybugs, and place them in different locations. The kitchen counter, the front porch, the refrigerator, and the freezer. And they were supposed to be observed every day for 2 weeks. Well, obviously, every single ladybug died. Some lived longer than others, but one thing was certain. Ladybugs prefer not to be put in a freezer. Crazy things kids did in school. A follower submission. A couple months ago, this kid and his friend noticed that there was a locker that nobody used. So they had an idea to do something funny with it. A couple times a week, they would stack empty milk cartons in the locker. Here's some pictures he sent me of his masterpiece. And this locker was kind of famous around the school. Everybody loved it. But one day, I guess it was kind of smelling up the hallway and the principal found out. They cleaned out the locker and locked it up for good. It was a very sad day for this school, and all the students were super sad. So to honor the locker and to mourn their loss, everyone put sticky notes on there, saying, "Rest in peace, milk locker. Respect." Dumbest school projects ever. This one person's teacher was very opinionated. She was the science teacher, and she 100% believed that seatbelts didn't do anything. Obviously they do, and they're very important, but there was no changing her mind. So one day, she gave an assignment to her class. The students had to write a 5-page essay on why seatbelts don't work. She told the students not to voice their own opinions, but to only talk about why seatbelts don't work. That's absolutely insane. Crazy things kids did in school. A follower submission. This kid's friend was going to get a haircut, but his mom took him to a pretty shady barber. And well, the barber messed up his hair pretty bad. Here's a picture. Well, this guy decided that he was going to fix his hair for him. So he brought some clippers into school, and they were going to go to the bathroom to shave all of his hair off. But a teacher walked in, so that plan was ruined. They then said screw it. They went into the cafeteria and started buzzing his head right there. They got pretty far, but a teacher came up and obviously shut it down. They were all sent to the principal's office, but the principal thought it was funny, so they each got 1 lunch detention. Not bad. Crazy things that happened at school. A follower submission. One day in drama class, the teacher went home sick, so they put on a movie to keep the students entertained until the period was over. Well, suddenly, an alarm went off, and the kids weren't sure if it was the fire alarm or the lockdown alarm. They went out into the hallway and they didn't see anybody, so they head back into the classroom and get under their desks, like they would do in a lockdown procedure. Cut to an hour or so later, when a teacher bursts into the classroom. She was incredibly relieved. Apparently, the school was basically on fire, and a bunch of the staff had been looking for them for ages. Well, like I said, luckily they were found and brought outside to safety. And after this was all over, the drama teacher was fired for not informing anyone she was going home. Crazy things kids did in school. A follower submission. At this kid's school, during lunch, students had the option of fruit or carrots. Well, about a month ago, him and his friend decided to walk around the lunchroom during lunch and collect bags of carrots. Well, they started doing this every day, and people started helping them. Some days, they would walk out of the lunchroom with 40 bags of carrots. They would then take these carrots and stuff them into a locker that nobody used. Well, a week later, when they were checking on the carrot locker, a teacher was behind them. and saw what they were doing. The teacher made the students throw away all the carrots, and in total, there was about 150 bags of carrots in this locker. Here's a clip of the infamous carrot bust.
83, 84, 85, 86. Oh my God.
That's a lot of carrots. Black Market's kids ran in their schools a follower submission. This guy is currently running this business, so he knows a bunch of managers and workers at Dave & Buster's. And a lot of days, he gets to play the games there for free, and has earned tons of tickets. Well, he uses those tickets to get Dave & Buster prize candy. He gets about 7 boxes every week. Here's a picture of his product stock. It looks like he's got all of the good stuff. Well, he takes the stuff he gets from Dave & Buster's, which, mind you, he got that all for free, and he sells them at school. Business is absolutely booming, and he's made about $700 in 2 weeks. All of that is pure profit. Not bad. Worst homework assignments of all time. This is a spelling worksheet that a kindergarten teacher gave to her class one day. But if you look closely, some of the words the teacher wanted these kids to know how to spell are gun and rob. That's a picture of a little robber. These guys are kindergartners. This next homework worksheet was given to kids to fill in the correct word of the sentence. This one particular sentence on the worksheet says, the man blank.
So they in the second year পড়ি
সেকেন্ড ইয়ারে আমি ক্লাস 9 এর পোলাবেন প্রেম করে
মামা মায়া তো অস্থির এক্সকিউজ মি আপু এক্সকিউজ মি আপনার নামটা যদি বলতেন একটু
শুনেন বেঞ্চ সাহেব আমার বন্ধু দিশান ঠিক আছে আপনার বান্ধবীরে শুনুন মারি নাই তো শাসন করছি ভালো লাগে না একটু মারতেই পারি তাহলে কিন্তু খুব খারাপ হয়ে গেছে তুই রবিল নামে সুন্দর রিক্সা ডাক ভাবি কি আমার বন্ধু দিশান দিচ্ছে প্লিজ ভাবি আপনি একটু নেন প্লিজ ভাবি দেখেন ভাবি বন্ধু ধরে না আবার কল দে এই এই দুলাভাই সামনে থাকলে যে সালাম দিতে হয় আপনি শিখাই নাই তোরা
যে কোচিং এর সামনে যে গুন্ডাটা দাঁড়িয়ে থাকে আমার তো মনে হয় পড়াশোনা সব বন্ধ করে দিবে
আমি তোর প্রেমের গল্প সাকসেসফুল আমার কথা বিশ্বাস কর
আমি যদি একটু প্রেম ভালোবাসাতে আমি শুধু ওরেই চাই বাবা আমি ওরে পাইলে হবে
ওকে আমি আপনাকে ভালোবাসি আচ্ছা আপনার কাছে একটা প্রশ্ন
শোনো আমি একটা জিনিস ভাবতেছিলাম
কি বলো তো
সেটা হচ্ছে যে আই থিংক উই ক্যান বি আ ভেরি গুড টিম জীবনে তো কোনো হাফ ডান প্র্যাঙ্কের ইতিহাস নেই আজকে এটারে ফুল ডান করে ছাড়বো ভাই
ওকে আই শুড গো নাও আই শুড গো নাও
না না হি জাস্ট গো নাও ঠিক আছে
এপ্রিল ফুল আজকে 1 এপ্রিল তুমি সবাইকে বোকা বানাও আমরা আজকে তোমাকে বোকা বানিয়েছি
নেন মানব কল্যাণে ম্যাক্স আগে আসবে এটাই তো স্বাভাবিক
হ্যালো আরে ঠিকানা তো খুঁজে পাচ্ছি না আপনি কোন ঠিকানা দিবেন
খারাপ হবে না তাছাড়া তুমি তো দেখতে শুনতে ভালোই সুন্দরী একটা সুন্দরী মেয়ে যদি টিমের সাথে থাকে খারাপ কি আইড লাভ টু নো ওয়ারিজ
শেষ
মাই ফোন আমার কষ্ট করে কেনা ফোন
শাট আপ একটা কথা আর বলবি না
কি সমস্যা তোমাদের
তুমি নাকি আমার ফোন ভেঙে ফেলছো
ফোনটা তো আনাই হইছে খুঁজে না এখন
দেখেন আপনারা যে আমাকে থানা নিচ্ছেন আপনাদের থানাও কিন্তু আমার ফ্যান ফলোয়াররা ঘেরাও করে ফেলে হোসেন ভাই ম্যান আপনারা একটু পর আমার সাথে সেলফি তুলতে চান তখন আমি তুলবো না
থানা নিয়ে যান শোন ওই যে ও দেখ শুয়ে আছে ও আজকে বেটার 3 নাম্বার গাছটা তার পেছনে গিয়ে তুই কিন্তু দাঁড়াবে ঠিক আছে আজকে বেটার খবর আছে
আর নেক্সট লেভেল হাউ
আমার মাথায় একটা আইডিয়া এসেছে ওই কন্টেন্ট যদি তুমি বানাতে পারো একদম হিট ভাইরাল হয়ে যাবে একদম।
তুই এটা করতে পারলি?
কেন মা, ও কি কম ফুটফুটে? পুরো ব্ল্যাক ডায়মন্ড, দেখো মা।
আমার না মাথা ঘুরতেছে।
আপনি যে কি করে আপনার মাথায় কোনো কমন সেন্স নেই? আমার বাসায় যদি সবাই দেখে ফেলে।
আজকে রাত 10টায় আমি ফোন দিব, আর একবারের বেশি যদি রিং হয়।
মামা মালটা তো জোস। সরি 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 ভাবি।
তুই পারবি, তুই কর।
দেখ কিভাবে কই।
সেটিং মেটিং নাই তো? সেটিং মানে বুঝো না, পেন্টেরিতে। ও তো আমাদের ভাবি হয়, ওই হিসাবে আমাদের বিয়ে হিসাব ভাবছি।
আচ্ছা দাঁড়া, ওয়েট কর, আমাকে একটু ভাবতে দে, দেখি কি করা যায়। দোস্ত তুই থাক, আমি যাই। আমি থাকবো মানে? তুই থাক দোস্ত।
রক্ত লাগবে রে। রক্ত? আসবো না মানে?
হ্যাঁ তাই তো শুনলাম।
আসবো না, ঠিক আছে, দেখতেছি ব্যাপারটা। যাও।
কিরে তুই কোচিং এ যাস না কেন?
দোস্ত আমি কোচিং এ কিভাবে যাব বল? এই গুন্ডাটা যে আমাকে ডিস্টার্ব করে, তুই দেখতেই তো পারছস, ডেইলি আমার পিছনে লাগে থাকে।
আমার ভালোবাসার গল্পটা অপূর্ণ রয়ে গেল।
গলবে, পাখির মন গলবে, এমন মন্ত্র দেব।
এভাবে রাস্তাঘাটে একটা মেয়েকে উত্তক্ত করে আর নিজের গায়ে রক্ত দিয়ে